Peace, peace, peace. Greetings, greetings. Yeah. Just jump right into this, man. How y'all doing? I trust all y'all are out there well in the world, wherever you are. I said, let me create this while this sun is beaming and I'm looking so beautiful and blossom as a flower. So, I love myself. Have you loved on you today? I said, but for real. Create this while I am, walking or whatever. Because it really ties into my discussion and my topic at hand, which has a lot to do with the current state of humanity, the world, and where we are. If there's one thing that is very important to me where I stand presently on my journey, and it's a little windy, I'm trying to find a spot where I can, chill and record this, but so where I'm getting at is this, man, I cannot stress it enough how important it is as a man or just as people to be emotionally in tune or developing, and how we haven't had environments who encourage us to honor emotions. I will just say, this is one of the greatest things on my journey from somebody way random, I don't know who it was, but just on my journey, how vital it is to even learn to honor your emotions as a man, to see the importance of I probably talked about this on other, videos, but man, it is really very important, because I'm not going to say emotions can ruin your life. I'm going to say emotions are like a gateway to a more prosperous and abundant life. The reason being is that when I self-reflect, just where I currently am, and I'm just seeing how we haven't had environments. When I look at the foundations that we have created or been created for us from as children, I really just notice how much it didn't encourage us at all to really navigate through as little boys, as little girls who will someday grow into what we call adulthood, to really learn how it is to process it, and to even be around people who knew how to process their emotions, or who knew the importance of emotional intelligence, man. The reason why I feel like this is so vital is because learning this part of myself allows me to just block out all the noise around me and to really show up for myself, and to acknowledge first what I'm feeling. And so that even connects to what I've spoken about before, is repressed emotions or suppressing emotions, or have suppressed and repressed. So this has guided me to this discussion now is right, like literally being in a world, again, that has been so inauthentic of really what it is to be human, or what it is to even be and acknowledge your natural abilities, your natural human traits, that being your emotions, that being, other things that come with just being human. And so again, if we have been in societies or environments, and this is why I'm encouraging y'all, whoever you are, to realize like there's no reason to beat yourself up wherever you currently are. From my own experience, I realized that I wasn't in the best environments where people really honored their emotions or even knew how to. They didn't have foundations or a support system that really value their emotions or encourage them to express it or to express themselves. So then I became a product of that environment. And then more so now, having to grow out of it, shift my mindset, weeding those people out, and then now moving forward to realize like, now I can see the bigger picture. The bigger picture and who is really repressing or have suppressed so much to where they have ignored the truth about who they are and continue ignoring the truth about their own insecurities, shadows. Basically, just the simple things. So this is where, again, I see the world, and I'm going to use the word lack, but are just not aware of self-compassion. And self-compassion really is important because what are we teaching the youth? When you look at environments or see how they have been so set apart from really being who they are, and then being set apart from that, they're trying to be everything but themselves and trying to follow the crowd or follow someone else's lead but their own. So that's where being led astray comes in. Or like I say, like some may say, the blind leading the blind. And so, again, on my own journey, I see the value in emotional intelligence, the emotional maturity of how certain decisions can and will have an effect on you. Whether something happens when you're younger, whether something happens when that as you get a certain age, you begin to see like, oh my gosh, that really had a ripple effect on everyone around me or everyone involved. So this is where, again, the self-awareness in what we do, how we do it, and then having to look to other people for some type of guidance. And that's why I feel like the misguidance and miscommunication throughout humanity has been is that we look to so many other people for our own. We look away and look towards someone for some type of guidance rather than our own inner GPS. And this is where I go. This is what I'm talking about when it comes to emotional intelligence. Is that we all individually have our own emotions. We all individually have our own GPS or intuition. That being said, if we haven't been, you can say programmed, or if we haven't been in support systems or have foundations that has encouraged or supported things as such. Men teaching young boys that your emotions are valuable. Teaching young women too, that your emotions are valid, that you are seen beyond your physical appearance, that you are more valuable, you're worthy of love, of being loved, that you are safe and secure. And that's one thing, again, that on this topic where I also reflected back on how I'm seeing these structures being ripped, these foundations that created so many false illusions, false identities around who we thought we were supposed to be, being ripped from the root because there was never nothing that was strong and firm. Because if it was, then why are we all experiencing this huge transformation or transition of learning so much how we built a country and globally these structures in the government setting and so forth, and upon greed, upon self-righteousness, upon all these things that have nothing to do with the power within, or really being secure and safe and worthy of just, whether you want to call it existing or just being human. Because most of it in the structures are dehumanizing or built upon dehumanization or control. I was telling someone, like, I feel like the first abuse or the abuse of power, this is my perception or my belief, is that of even trying to believe that we can control other people or have some sense of control over where people think, be, act, and so forth. Some may call it very narcissistic. Hey, to each his own. My thing with it is, the first self-abuse I believe comes in, or abuse of power, is when we don't use our own. Is when we don't exercise our own opinion, expression, and or being our authentic self. That's why I feel like our first abuse of power comes in. And what I mean by that is, like, when we're not exercising it for an intention, for the betterment of all, in a way. So we all, let's say, have, I don't want to say just falling victim, but being in that loop of, whether we know it or not, due to programming, due to things that we have experienced firsthand, is trying to, even, whether it be our kids, whether it be in environments that we grew up in, exercise this false sense of power. And that's what you're seeing, like, globally being uprooted and dismantled, is this false sense of power. This false sense of what power was even, what was being displayed, basically. And what we all got in a moment, whether we played a part in it or not, what we were fueling, a false sense of power, giving so much energy, power into people or places or even environments and so forth, whether you are a mother, in a community, whether you are, when you look at the monetary system, all these things that people are so hell-bent over trying to control or keep people in this illusion of control, and that rolled over right into the people acting the way they do. And that's on all levels. Like, I'm not gonna get into the celebrity stuff, but that's one of the things. Even with that, it's like the things that people don't know about. But again, how it's so corrupted in the media, where it's so pushed to where it's forced for us to see it. Then that's when people are forced to give their energy to it unwillingly, that whether they know it or not. And we're giving our energy to these things and not realizing, like, it's another way of distracting us from ourselves. But more so that topic of that, I'm not going to get into details, but those that do know, I was telling someone, I'm like, it's so easy for us to judge, these people, or, what has happened. But these same things that we see in the media or we see broadcasted are the same things that not only we fueled, but we know people who have went through it. That's why you see, again, this false sense of power, no matter where people are, no matter what, in the realm of things, no matter what status they have, the exposure happens on all levels, with yourself individually and everyone else on different levels, to where we know someone, I know someone who was, physically abused or sexually abused per se. Or, we knew people that in certain environments that just because they had money, just because they had this, that they could pay somebody off. Or, some people, again, from my experience, knew people that was drug dealers or knew something that had this money. And you will see at a time, women flock to certain men like that, because this is not everyone, this is from my experience. See women flock to, younger women too at that, and see their moms not really say much because of that. And, because of, let's say the daughter was getting some money, then it helped the bills, it helped something. So when I see this celebrity stuff happen, that is no different to where I've seen people allow their daughters to talk to men of their elder. And it goes to women, little boys too. Again, the reason I'm talking about this and getting into this is because we're so easily ready to judge, and that's simply because of the programming of the world. We're so easily trying to judge these people or judge someone before ourselves and check ourselves, to where there are people right there, again, on all levels of things in the community, where I know personally who have allowed this to happen. But you quick to judge someone else. But I'm like, that is a reflection of, in a way that someone else went through that. So a lot of these things, again, the bigger picture of it is we all reflect source or the creator. So in any way where we think we can cast judgment or throw the stone and try to hide our hands, whether you know of someone that went through that, I sit back and observe and be like, wow, look at all this stuff that's trending. Look at all these people that's trying to fall into this narrative and automatically throw their stone. Again, it's a balance, to each his own. But again, this is where, again, humanity has learned, and I'm not justifying nothing, because judgment is what it is on nobody's part. Because I've done stuff, everyone has done stuff. But in the oneness of everything, I'm speaking about the fact of how there's people firsthand that want to talk about somebody, and firsthand that someone who has dealt with something similar, and you still hold on to it. Like, again, everybody that know my channel, whatever it is, I hold you. Everything over here is about accountability, oneness, bringing stuff back to self. And in some way, if there's going to be any uncomfortability, it's an inspired action, or that uncomfortability, going back to the emotions, should be in a way of like inspiring, which is your free will to inspire you to see yourself in your part. That's why when I be sitting back, and I don't be trying to get all into that stuff, but I just see how the world in itself, the noise, the distractions, how they really don't have self-compassion. They really don't have, or that's what's being restored, is the self-compassion. Or is, people really don't want to face accountability or be called out for their shit. In any way, when we can find a way to judge someone, that's really us really not wanting to acknowledge our own shit, our own stuff, sweep around our own door. So before I get to thinking I got to get into something trending or something, I said, let me go speak about something that, again, the importance of the emotional intelligence, man. Like, that's what I realized. Again, I'm not separating myself from other men, but that's what sets me apart from any other individual. That's what makes me uniquely me, is when I choose in certain moments, which was a process of getting where I am, to acknowledge whether you want to call them shortcomings, mistakes, or whatever, but really to become more self-aware of my own everything first, before I decided to go out there and to, like, be like, let me speak on this. No, I really, and I'm gonna talk about even what I experienced the other day of being in a community where the value of even having emotional intelligence, and really the biggest thing for me through all of this and what I've discussed is learning to have to which I feel like, when I say self-compassion, what I feel like the world or people individually are like are really in fear of, or what's really blocking them, is really, for myself, is learning to be safe within myself again, to feel safe, secure, and worthy. And that's something that I came across when I was learning something in those of you that are into astrology or my own, natal chart. It's just something that I, again, as I gradually, evolved on my own journey, it's just certain things come across your path, or you come into alignment with, or is revealed. And I'm like, you know what? I've already been doing this. Oh, this is just another piece to the puzzle. And again, where I'm at is realizing how much I had to learn to feel safe again within myself. Not just the environments, but safe, secure, and worthy. And the reason I say that is because, like, safe within myself, is like, feeling rooted, regaining my truth, regaining a sense of awareness of, like, I'm accountable for my emotions. So those are the things that come up from what I've experienced in relationships, partnerships, where the root of my safety began, and where that safety net or that safety was broken, or that trust. And I was like, yo, this is huge for me. I kind of want to sit this phone somewhere. And the reason I was saying, like, this is huge for me is because I was like, yo, again, just through my own evolution of my journey, I was like, okay, I need to feel, have I really felt safe? And a lot of things that I've spoken about on my YouTube, or even, encourage people to do, when it comes to emotions and feeling safe again, one of the biggest things for me was I realized how I didn't have a lot of emotional, or the root cause of a lot of things, and seeing where I am now, is that I didn't have an emotional safe place. Like, not only to express it, but from emotional neglect or abandonment from the root of what I experienced with a woman or my mother, and or being around environments that didn't honor emotion. I was like, yo, I never felt safe. And that hit me. I really never felt safe to really, like, express it, to really feel that I had to. So with that, I just now at 34, and it's not even about age, but it's just my evolution through the process of going to the root of it. I was like, have I felt emotionally safe, secure? Then that ties into how, through a lot of relationships that I attracted, through a lot of things that I no longer could ignore, I also realized that I didn't feel worthy of being loved, because that ties into the emotional, again, basically the foundations of what I assume to be love, or to feel secure, to now learning what to show up for myself, to have self-compassion, all these things that come from within. A sense of feeling safe, secure, and worthy. So, again, when I look at the state of humanity and reflecting back from my own individual experience, I'm like, I get it. I see why humanity or the world has been in this place. And when I look at from my experience, I'm able to put myself in other people's, put myself there. But even though it's through a different lens, from my experience, I'm like, wow. It's certain things that could have destroyed me. It's certain things that I don't even know how that I gotten through until I really reflect into the root of when I speak about emotional intelligence and how I developed this, is that I go to the root. That's what I encourage people. It's like you see this tree, but again, the root of how did this tree produce or come to what it is, and then that fruit, that fruit, based off your actions, which is the fruit, will tell you like, is this tree bearing rotten or fruit or prosperous? Things that when you receive it, will it, because you can learn from both the rotten and prosperous tree or good fruit. It's just seeing how societally and what we've experienced, we've been served rotten shit. Let's be real. It's been rotten. Because how, until you can develop that, until you really see that, then that's when you can counter that and be like, what, I realized that I grew up in environments that wasn't watering me. So it was a rotten environment until I realized I had to uproot myself or reroute myself or learn to plant seeds. And that's what some of us are doing through our awareness now, wherever you are on your journey. That can be through whether you're a mother or father, or whether, you're young and you're coming to this own self-awareness, like you want to do something different. You actually want to do something that whenever you transition, whenever you leave this world, you actually want to leave a legacy where those that come after you prosper. And so when you sit back and you realize, like, when I look at the state of the world of people, when I look at like what has really influenced me or had an influence on me to really prosper and really believe in myself, to feel secure, to feel worthy of love, to feel safe, secure, and worthy. And you can decipher what that means to you. Like when I go back and when I see my sense of my childhood, my own individual journey, I'm like, well, where does my sense of safety come from? Where's the value? Where's the integrity? Or where's the core, And I was like, I really had to go within and realize, like, wow, the safety that I thought I had or assumed that came outside of me was within me. I had to regain this through my evolution, through my experiences, learning from the people that I was around or the environments. And then it goes to the feeling secure to even work through the emotions, navigate through my experiences, to feel secure enough to be presently rooted in the now, be rooted in my own truth, to be secure in who I am, my sexuality, my again, internally, then externally, to feeling secure in that. And then the worthiness, again, going back to love, the self-compassion, learning now what self-love is. I'm like, okay. And again, this reflects back to not only since we've been so focused externally, now being restored or reconnecting to the internal aspect of life. Okay, this all comes from within. This voice comes from within. My emotions come from within. All these things come from within, but there has been, at a moment, so much things focused externally to look towards, these people, these environments, the society, societal norms, these structures for these very things that has always been within us. So that's when it really clicked for me about the emotional maturity or intelligence. Then I start to see like kids and how I develop my emotions. So let's say, having a child, or just simply, you know, coming to the awareness of, as I become more self-compassionate or pour into myself, then that highlights not only the emotional neglect or abandonment, that also brings up the darkness of things I didn't want to face or want to accept. So then that brings up the fear around feeling safe around or in myself again, and or around people, social anxiety. That, basically a lot of these things create what we were looking for externally to really, we've internalized to where does this social anxiety come from? Where does this narcissistic, these traits, these things that we develop in our characters, where does this come from? And so self-awareness, or to be self-aware, will have you facing yourself, the versions of yourself that you have developed through this process from childhood. How have you gained your emotional intelligence, or are you emotionally secure? Do you feel worthy of love or being loved? Are you lovable in a way? And that's the thing that, again, I realized that I was not displaying. But those things do come up with self-doubt, because I was like, okay, I've seen my pattern, I've seen this behavior pattern, but well, can they forgive me? Asking questions about everyone else but yourself. I needed to forgive myself. I needed to accept my role. I needed to accept my behavior patterns. I needed to do everything for me first before I decided to go out there and try to, mend things, or, the healing, the inner wound needed healing first before I could focus on the external, healing, or the external wounds. And the external wounds can be represented by certain people that that you have affected or have a ripple effect on. And so through this developing this emotional intelligence and maturity, I said, you know what? Let me see how this transition has happened. Let me see how this has came about to where now, to feel safe and secure again, to feel worthy of just being loved or lovable and all these things, let me dig up and go to the root of what I need to before I naturally cast judgment on someone. Because that's my self-awareness. Like, certain things that come in my reality or have, I'm like, should I judge this? And sometimes the ego wants to make itself at that moment feel above, or like, oh, I wouldn't do such things. But then there's something inside you be like, you know what, I know there's something I can relate to with that, or I know somebody, whether I've experienced or not, I know someone who went through it. So going back to the oneness and the source of all of this is that we all either know someone or know something or have experienced something to where, reflecting on anything, do we really feel worthy of love? And can we say we're worthy of love based off the experiences, the foundation that we have developed, what we call love, or what we call what we believe to be authentic? And so the beauty of all this I've been reflecting on is, like, we've been so apart from ourselves, disconnected, to where I'm able to see why, from my experience, how I came to be who I am, and not neglecting the parts of me that I wanted to hate. And seeing how, when I did not feel emotionally safe, seeing the root of where that came from, and then whether unconsciously or unintentionally or intentionally, how that ripple effect by whether hurting people or not feeling emotionally safe, how I even pulled a mask over my face, how I portrayed certain narcissistic traits, how basically I created an inauthentic version of myself to be accepted, to be approved, to through certain outlets, through certain, things that, again, that will someday come back around for me to be like, internally be like, this ain't really who you are. This ain't the real raw in you. And I see the most challenging things that people fear or have feared is that the power that really is within is not trying to conquer others. It's really mastering yourself. And, learning to try to master oneself, like emotions. There's always something else to learn or to learn about yourself through other people. Going back to my, having a child, you'll see the different levels of yourself and the oneness of everything. How I see it, it's like you see a child who is learning the importance of emotion, trying to balance their emotions, and they're learning it through the mother first. Is this why I go back and say how the mother naturally in the womb, when we're in the womb, we're developing also our minds, the womb where our minds begin. So we're developing a sense of self from the womb and then externally. So it's like a seed. I was telling someone this analogy, like a seed, the seed being planted from man and woman and so forth. And then you know how a seed blossoms. So depending on if that woman watered herself or depending on if she's getting water through her interactions while she's pregnant, all these things play into the, how that seed being you, or that tree, that flower, how that seed will blossom into the world. And so when we really look at our foundations, and this goes back to the emotional, foundations of how we have developed, through our character development, who we develop these foundations from. Were these foundations built upon truth? Did we have mothers who felt they were worthy of love? Did we have an interaction with a mother, or the mother have an interaction with this man who knew that? Were they both self-aware of their purpose, of their journey? Did they both feel worthy of love? Did they both feel safe? Did they have this interaction, with each other from a karmic place, or from a place of, unsurety, or, not being emotionally safe or secure? Not to mention, and much love to those and healing to those who have been in environments where women who have been forced on, and again, you cannot say she felt emotionally safe, secure, and then after that, questioning her worthiness of being loved. So there's a lot of things that go into that. Women that have been affected by that, and they still had a child. Or let's say women who did not know their worth, their worth or their self-value. That did not know these things, but still just, let's say, I'm going to use the word trending, or just because of the pressure, the peer pressure, or them, believing these narratives of like, this is what you're worthy of, just your external. So you got to look a certain way. So you got to present yourself a certain way for a man to accept you, or to get his approval. And so in all of that, they really, even through their unworthiness, through their unsurety and so forth, you created a child from it. And from that energy, from that karmic energy, it just don't go away. This is where you see being reenacted, and where generational curses come into play. Where you realize, like, oh, if I did not have a mother that was emotionally safe or secure, most likely she met my father in that same energy. I know this wind is blowing. And that's the thing that cannot be ignored. A lot of us are here to break generational curses, to where we align not only with ourselves first, but with partners or people who are aligned with those same core values, who are aligned with, breaking generational curses, and be like, because it looks different for you. For my own journey, if I know I had a mother who, let's say, whatever she was doing, but through her actions and through her characters, she obviously had to, be or seen something to where she did not feel emotionally safe. Because if she wasn't secure in her emotions and knew her worth, then I came in, some of us came in as their karma. And karma is not just something that's something horrific. To balance out the energy, to balance out life, to restore the emotional intelligence within not only the patriarchal, but that wounding around the matriarchal allows me to restore the emotional intelligence, to be able to heal that motherly energy or that mother wound, that feminine aspect, in a sense of like the polarity, the feminine energy and the masculine energy that we all have. But to balance that out, to restore that, I was telling someone, I was like, I can see how, again, growing up in a majority, women-based environment, or that who were displaying fatherly wounds, who were displaying, this over being masculine, working and overhaul so much to where it caused them to realize, my awareness now, to neglect not only themselves, but that energy was again projected onto, me. But I realized now that a part of them neglecting themselves and abandoning their, the imbalance between feminine and masculine, is that created an imbalance within me. A lot of us naturally came in imbalance in the womb and then came out here to restore balance. Whew. Isn't that shit so beautiful? We're learning to restore. Balance is being restored, and however that is, some of us as men and women may have more masculine and feminine energy. And I realized I became more hyper masculine and hypersensitive because of the environment. Again, growing up in environments where women were an overhaul, and seeing them in this image where they have to, believing that this is how women should be, however that was displayed. And that was not at all what it is in, to source in a way of like the natural order of things. That was the dark side of things in a way of like seeing the imbalance, to only now for me to come into my own emotions, to now to see how, a partner or in a relationship, a daughter can also reflect back those things her mother, the mothers, this is why I be talking to the mothers, to show how, whether you are aware of it or not, or subconsciously or unintentionally aware of, how you naturally came in only to be restored with that worthiness again within yourself, to feel secure again, to feel safe within yourself, because that's what the fuck it really is. When I look at how certain things are displayed, whether you have a woman that is displaying, being over sexual, or probably have experienced, people projecting onto her or learning from a father or mother that have over sexualized themselves, or, thinking that this is how you should receive herself, then she's going to display that until she probably karmically meet a man to be like, I'm not into that. You don't have to, display yourself. I really see you. And so that's why a lot of us attract these certain connections or certain things. And it karmically, the energy really helps us see more of ourselves, to really focus more on ourselves, how we can evolve, how we can heal, how we can see more of our inner wounds. But again, you've been in a world that all just focus on projecting, or forcing. We're not here to force things to fit. That's like you trying to force a piece in a puzzle that's from a whole nother puzzle that don't even fit. So that goes to relationships. We had mothers and fathers that forced themselves, but it had to happen that way. Thinking about a man forcing himself on, and that forcing himself on someone, or a woman forcing herself to, and then after that, she believes that she should force herself into men's life. There's a thing that happens to where the energy plays out. Whether some may call through lifetimes, relationships, the energy has to play out, and that's what you're seeing play out collectively, individually and collectively. The energy is playing out from the bullshit, the intentions of what people really are, who their intentions, who they really been, the shadows of people. Is playing out for a purpose, only for energy to come in to restore balance. Like some may say, there could be no good without evil. There could be no dark without light. So again, a lot of us that are purposely selected to do this, your tools are also, being a generational curse breakers, your tools are also the curses. Meaning that it followed you, but it stops with you. You have the cure. Like the poison, you have the cure. You have the cure. You are the cure. So I don't want to use that. People say the oversaturation of chosen. You are the cure for your generation. You are the cure. I say. I just need to keep saying that. You are the cure. I am the cure. I'm probably saying that so country. The cure. Cure. Whatever. But basically, in an energetic aspect, I speak on different levels. Like from individually, you grow up in the trenches. Bro, you the one. But we the ones. But you the one. You and you the cure. You the one that come restore balance. But that don't mean you forget about the curses. They play a major purpose. Those are the tools as well. Because now you can alchemize it, or now you could, that's a part of you too. That's a part of those ancestors that came before you. Because not all of them was trying to do everything. They wanted people to stay. Some didn't. We're not going to get into that. But the beauty of all of this is that a lot of us, when you look into your lineage, when you look into what you went through, you are the only one that can really observe and see exactly what your lineage has experienced. Really observe and look at the people. And the divine gave me this years ago. I sat back, divine said, hey, peep this right quick. This how, y'all gotta realize the creator, source, God, whatever you want to call it, has a personality. For me to think like it talks a certain way or whatever, man, peep this. That's how the creator, peep this, bro. Everything that you keep trying to tell everybody should do, you should do it. But do it your own way. You don't got to do it their way. Don't worry about if somebody say you copy. No. Because your pain can't be duplicated, nor can what you do be duplicated. Because we gave it to you. These curses followed you, only for you to counter it. The tools were given to you. Not everybody had the strength to get through what you're getting through. Not everyone is willing to have the courage to talk about, speak about, write about, sing about, create about what you're doing. Divine said, look, peep this, bro. You keep trying to encourage people to do this and, this, I get that part. You a very structured person, because structured ain't always got to do with your life reflecting so much it got to be this way. Because I always remind people, structure you can be more structured and balanced in emotion. If someone can have their life, have all these, material things, and I'm not devaluing people, but they can have all this, but you can make up for this and then have this. That's how we attract certain people, because they come to mirror or reflect back something that, if we're willing to be open to the lesson, or we're willing to be open to learn from it, because, the student, being a student in life, you're always going to learn from them. So I would sit back, and this was again, in the wounded spot, and I would be, had those moments where I feel like I had to tell my mother this. I feel like I had to tell this person this. And, it became draining to where I was like, bro, you're forgetting about yourself. You're trying to tell everybody this, but what about watering yourself? So, let's say certain people had gifts. Let's say I had a cousin that could draw. I'm like, cuz, man, you need to do something with that. Divine, be sitting there like, you need to do something with that. And you know, certain things you can sit back and observe that certain people in your family have these gifts. Do you know that certain things that they display, and you're not only planting seeds, but they're also planting seeds for you to have the courage to step out and do it. And you know, you will have those people, not that it matters, like, oh, I can't believe they did that. They stole my idea. They could have did that. But truthfully, everything comes from source. So who has this idea? Who really is, what really belongs to any of us? If we're all a part of this infinite cycle, or a part of this feminine masculine dance, or we're a part of this human, you know, if we're a part of just this, whatever you want to call it. Who has ownership? And see, that's the illusion I've been telling people. I've been trying to show y'all, like, wherever you are, you have been given the tools. You got some people that can speak, and then some people that don't even have that not able, let's say, to speak. And they speak sign language. You got someone that may have, you know, 2 legs and someone that doesn't. There's always something in life that we can look at, or the source that reminds us that you have no excuse. What excuse do we have? It ain't about money. It's bigger than that. Because once you really sit down, and I'm telling myself, I'm like, yo, when I would see people, like, certain things would be like, you know, Divine, like, look, bro, peep this, bro. Yeah, I'm showing you what they do with their money, but you don't got to do that. Yeah, I'm showing you that this is what they do in their life, but you ain't got to do that. Yeah, this is how they raise their kids, but you ain't got to do that. That's where the beauty of sovereignty, or that's where your value is learning your value. And purpose is to come to that self-awareness that we all have a purpose. And some people unintentionally don't want to walk into their destiny. They will rather let other people decide their fate when they don't want to think for themselves, or not even just think, when they don't want to be who they came here to be. They're allowing other people to decide their fate. And that's what you see from the world, where you get to decide your destiny. And once you decide your destiny, those that come after you realize, like, they too can decide their destiny, and not allow the fear mongering or what other people say or external shit to decide their fate. This is, I sit back and I'm like, once I realized I was being restored with that which I thought I lost, or the world or society or anybody that portrayed themselves to be higher than source or more powerful than what I was already given inside of me, I said, wow, bravo. Because all of this is a stage. All of this is we're all playing a role right now. It's just you're determining who plays the leading role right now. Who is the leading character in your life? And with that, when we give our power, or when we give our energy to people, these certain narratives and so forth, because, I don't like to use the term God, but I like to tell people God, or whatever their higher power, it's all different in everyone's life. It's not the same. Because money, or, when people don't really know the value of themselves or know who they are, those external things become their idols and gods. And once you start to sit back and observe, you will really see, like, wow, something higher is running them, or they're not even aware of who they are. And through that, it's like, again, the value, my own journey being restored with my self-value and self-worth, it allowed me to see how everyone is valuable. even the ones that don't even have self-compassion. And that goes to where I was walking in the neighborhood and, I had this guy. I mean, I was aware of him, observed, and this is why I see on my journey how the divine can align you or put you on a path where, for me, it's not like everyone else. This is my individual journey that I'm learning or evolving as, a soul, or just as an individual, as a person. And, being in this environment, again, it's helping me refine myself, my character, my image, my core values and so forth. And that's the thing I, express to people. It's like, it will always change. But most importantly, knowing thyself and knowing who you are through it is what's valuable. Knowing that nothing externally, no matter what you so-called obtain or receive here, determines that value. No one can determine how you should go about and do about it. That's your decision. And that's through whether it's intentional and what's the intention behind it. So I had a moment where I was walking and I saw this so-called elder that I didn't know at the time that was following me. He was in this van or whatever, and I just noticed it. Drive by, come back, and I'm walking, and he proceeds to pull up beside me and say, let me see. He said, "You all right?" Or I'm just checking out. I'm like, "What's up?" I'm just gonna be fucking. I'm gonna keep it a buck. What's up? I already know you've been, like, this is what I was saying. I was observing. I already know you've been following me. Or whatever. And so I was like, okay, what's up? He's like, oh, I'm just checking out things. And I'm like, what you want, man? Like, I know you follow me. Oh, we've been watching you, and we see. I'm like, what the fuck is this? What? I don't care. And I had to remind his ass. Because, sometimes what people don't realize, this is my journey. I've been in so many environments where, let's say, from experience, from being in my childhood, you can grow up in environments, again, where people don't know themselves or have self-awareness of themselves that look like you. This is just on this surface level of physical. People that look like you, that don't really value themselves, that don't really know their self-worth. Everyone can look like you, but you're treated like trash, or, there's a lot of insecurity, or people that don't know their self-worth, kids. And now I look at it as like reflects the value of the caregiver wherever they experience at home. So this experience from being in a community that is more, let's say, fairer skin. And, these environments, if you're willing to learn, and which I had to come to a deeper acceptance, what is this teaching me before I react? And so, this is where emotional intelligence comes in. So this guy begins to he's like, oh yeah, we've been watching you, this and go deeper. I'm like, I had to first remind him, I'm like, what? I felt my emotions come. I'm like, what? Okay. And he proceeds to walk, and I'm just putting my hands behind my back, walking, let me just laugh, stay calm. I'm laughing. I'm like, first of all, I don't care who you because those of you that, we grow up in certain vibe, I'm like, look, bro, it can either be you or me, and most likely it's not going to be me. But at a moment I realized this reminded me of not only environments where I grew up in neighborhoods that were I got bullied and jumped even when I was smaller. I used to be much smaller, and it was by colleagues or people that I knew. And that's just solely because, again, now that I reflect, I knew that these were environments where that's the only way a lot of us kids, and this can be anywhere, because bullying, this ain't got nothing to do with color and creed. This happens everywhere. These kids I knew just growing up, a lot of them were either being bullied or by their caregivers, being abused or something along down that line, to where I was on the other end of the spectrum for it to receive, I was innocent, and let's just say that. So again, through that process, again, already being physically abused at home verbally, this is where, again, emotional intelligence is not established, or being emotionally secure or safe. Because if you're just minding your business, you're being bullied or attacked young, it develops this sense of not feeling safe, or in environments where you don't feel safe. So you're coming outside not, cautious, or even learning to people please, because you're like, those of you that have experienced bullying, that gets into the depths of like, giving your money to people. We don't even know we develop these subconscious behaviors to where we people pleasing and learning this process young, from not only in our homes, but outside of the home, where you're trying to, this bully or this, you don't want to get beat up, so they take your shoes, or you give them to them, or you give them your lunch money. It's so many things that go into that, to where you develop this character, or this rage, or you naturally repress emotions, which a lot of men are probably dealing with, or have dealt with, or currently trying to process, that they don't even know how to fucking get through it. So here I am. So going back to the guy that, I'm using the polarity of growing up in a majority melanated or darker community, to where there's no difference in people of so-called want to use their power or illusion of power, whether they're in a community setting, elders, people who have, money and so forth. And what I realized is, like, when I was walking, I had to remind this mother lover, like, look, bro, I'm the chief and the commander. I'm the head honcho in my life. What are you chief and commander of? Who are you? What are you saying? You start to, call out certain things I guess he thought I was associated with. I'm like, look, man, I don't care if you follow me or not. So as I'm walking, he proceeds to follow me like another 2 blocks and be like, I don't even know if he was trying to take a picture of me, but I know a lot of this had to do with, again, people call it racism, I call it self-hatred. It really is a hatred of self, to find that, on a deeper level, that you don't like someone just because of what they look like. And I knew that coming into environments where people not used to seeing someone of my stature, 6'4", 6'5", or whatever, and let's say, a muscular build, it can be intimidating, and it can be seen differently in so many different lenses. You got an elder who probably can feel threatened and saying here something like, I don't know if you neighborhood, why, I don't care what you doing. But it's like, to even try to come up and bully me with what you think I'm supposed to be afraid of, or who you would think that people still don't have to go through this in a country, in what they call America, or even in environments where you're supposed to feel safe. You're supposed to feel secure in a community. And I know most people's like, well, you in a predominantly such as look, I don't been in a lot of places, because people that don't support me, whatever, comes from all walks of life. No matter their religion or culture, I don't care about that. But that incident showed me, like, really people lack self-compassion, or try to force their insecurities or narratives or whatever it is on someone else because of their own insecurities, or their own internal battle. I'm just walking, haven't caused any issues or whatever. And so, he begins to follow me. And so I had to really remind myself I'm safe, I'm secure within myself. Because even though we're at certain ages, does not mean that as a darker man, because I'm going to just use, doesn't mean that we have been in environments, both when it comes to different, creeds of people or lighter shades or whatever, doesn't mean that we haven't developed through our character development of not feeling safe. And when you look at the foundations of a country, of environments that haven't established this shit, that haven't built structures upon where not only people of darker shade, but all people can live amongst each other in peace and harmony. So sometimes I look, and normally if I was at a wounded place, I would just be like, reacted in a way to where it wasn't being pleasant. But I had to remind myself that I'm secure, I'm safe, to where even though it may show up externally, that shit ain't gonna do nothing to me. Ain't nothing gonna touch me. Fuck them projections, ain't nothing gonna happen to me. So then I look at it again from evolving on a frequency level. This obviously he ain't even on my way. See you later. That ain't even a part of my life. So that it just showed me like how this energy or this whatever this man want to show up, like trying to project fear of like I should be afraid of where I should be. And let me tell y'all, there's nothing or no one when you are aligned with your purpose or when you are on your path. Those things may come up and those things may be presented. But let me tell you something. They throw stones, but did it hit you? No. They did what? You learn to use it, what I'm doing now, using that shit to build my house, my empire, Because that just showed me no matter where you are, because I've got people who see me on a soul level, on a like this is where we're graduating or elevating to. We've been in environments or been in a world, the old world represented superficial surface shit. To where now we're evolving. When you hear people talking about soul tribe on a soul level, with those who have done the shadow and inner work, face things within themselves, to where you align with those who see you. And that means people come from all walks of life, no matter their religion, no matter their whatever, no matter what they are involved in or whatever. It's more so aligning with that energy of people or that frequency, so that can be attracted. Because I know I didn't attract that. But even if I intentionally did, I told myself, I'm like, it's how I responded to it. Because for one, I'm not going to respond on fear. And that's what I realized I didn't give my energy to. I'm like, I'm okay. I just laughed and walked. Because I realized, like, there are a lot of us that have went through this, whether in a career environment, work environment, and so forth, where, let me tell you something, don't nobody get away with nothing. Don't no one get away with nothing, because the universal law is what you put out comes back. And I told myself, some moments I want to respond and be like, you know what, fuck you, whatever, go on with your life, because some people deserve that, because they're putting out certain things, but I can respectfully tell you, go fuck yourself. But I told myself, it is what it is, because I honor the dark and light within me. Like, where I'm at and how I had to be restored and regain my sense of self-confidence, self-worth, my value. Just know you ain't coming over here and just think it's a cakewalk. See, that evolution comes with really having a foundation that reflects your core values, not no one else's, your core values. And our core values didn't match up, and that's the beauty of life. Is like, now you're in the driver's seat, you get to decide, like, do I need to, nah, that's not for me, okay. And that's the beauty of this, and it becomes effortless. So certain things I realized, I told myself, that rejection is for my protection. He might have not accepted me for who I am just because his own whatever. I realized there is other people or that will be restored in a way to where someone who will see me, no matter what I look like, on some superficial surface shit like that. So again, through how I learn, again, getting to more the deeper awareness of myself, I realized, like, it all shows or reflect back to, are you being honest with yourself and authentic? Or were you coward in a way, because what they're doing is cowardness, but will you coward away and be like, not be yourself in those moments? To what? To feel like I gotta hide myself or not walk in the community, no matter, I don't care if it was green and purple, yellow people. And so, going back to that, is like, again, I'm reflecting, having a deep reflection on the child, the inner child that still is in me, and standing up for that. And then let's say a little boy was around that looked like me or didn't, and really seeing how they need to see that. We need to see more people who are really walking in authenticity, not just displaying this crap that you see on social media, because you don't know who they are. Because there are people that really know who certain people are outside of social media. And one thing about energy, it don't lie. So what type of standard, like, really, my thing is like, if I'm holding myself accountable, I'm holding your ass accountable too. Because he picked the right one that day. And I had to let people know, like, you gotta, that's the beauty of all this right now. It's like, no one knows the depths or where you had to get to be where you are. So don't let them pimp you, play you, or trick you out your fucking spot. Don't matter what they come with. Money, you'll be able to see through the manipulation. You'll be able to realize they're not authentic. No matter their status, their career, no matter none of that. Because outside of the surface shit, the energy won't lie. That's the importance of, like, I realized I've always had a spirit of discernment. And it's truly beautiful. The more deeper you get to yourself and the more you elevate, there is protection that comes with that. Because the protection is you become more in tune or more aligned with who you are. That's what protects you. Your natural, innate protection of who you are and who you're becoming. So you'll be able to see from a bird's eye view, like, oh, I see what's going on here. So then when you choose to swoop down and somebody might try to come and act like, oh, I can offer you this, and you'd be like, no. You'll be able to see their character or their energy will speak before anything. So again, beauty of all this again is be you. Because no one can be you better than you. And when we see the importance in that individually, then we won't be concerned about the youth behind us, that's coming after us, because they gonna be who they are regardless. They just as powerful. They calling us out on everything. Kids are just, that's why, kids are so, we're as 20, 30, 40, whatever, some of the elders, they're not even aware. Some of them are, but this is not to try to get everybody on board. This is simply to be who you are. Be you for you. Who gonna be you better than you? So, yeah. And then being that's gonna illuminate everything that's not authentic, man. Things are gonna fall away. Things are not gonna look the same. That's just what it is. Internally and externally. No one can duplicate. That's why I sat back down. I could sit back and laugh at that moment, to where the wounded me would have just been like, oh, I gotta react. I gotta go da-da-da. I started, like, now it's just like, I ain't finna let nobody disrupt my peace, because that's first within me. I'm not finna, what? Man, go on about your business, man. Ain't no, them bullying and abusive and all that other stuff, man, it's being highlighted so now we can learn to recreate the world we deserve and desire, or know we're worthy of creating. No one else gonna do it. We look at, man, those days over with trying to look for a certain a certain people. We're here to create that shit. We're here to go against the norm and create our own, what it is. You know, because everybody don't want to live in peace and harmony. You would think they would with all the shit that's going on, but everybody, I can't speak for everybody. I can only speak for me. I'm gonna leave y'all with that because it's beautiful out here, man. So, y'all take care of yourself. I just know, for one, I had to share that with y'all because that was so fun. That ain't my first encounter with stuff like that because, again, self-hatred is an internal thing. And when people don't know their self-worth, that energy or that self-hatred can be displayed from anybody and anybody. Funny. I like that. It can be displayed in any person. Because it all reflects back to you knowing your value, your worth, what you will no longer tolerate. And people tired. People ain't finna be tolerating that bullshit, man. Come on, man. Then you gotta ask yourself, for those of you that have kids, would you want your children to be tolerating something? No. You don't gotta tolerate Ray Ray and Quashawn and Bob and Sarah, whomever. So, let me enjoy this song. Peace and blessings. Shalom.